Hello, welcome to our assembly. It's been a little while since we've had one of these because we've had a half term. So I hope you've had a really lovely half term. I hope you've done some really cool things. We talked before half term about things that made us happy, things that were good for our mental health. So I hope you've done lots of those as well. What I want you to do now is I want you to tell me one thing that you have done that is really good for your mental health, but you're all in your homes. And I'm not here. I'm actually in my home at the moment. And when you play this video, I will be in school. So I won't be able to hear. So shout it really loudly. Ready? So I can hear it from my office in school. 1, 2, 3, go. Fantastic. Well done. So I've done some really cool stuff. I've had a really lovely half-term holiday. What have I done? I've been for some lovely walks. I went for some runs, went running with a friend today. It was really nice. Been had wanders around Delamere Forest. Done lots of lovely things. It's been really cool. Done some gardening, potted about, had a really lovely time. So enjoyed being out in the fresh air, and you can feel, can't you? The weather's getting a bit warmer. It's getting a bit lighter. So it's feeling a little bit like spring. It's my favorite time of the year. So what we're going to do in our assembly today is we're going to think about Heartsmart. Okay, so let me show you. Here we go. We're going to go back to our Heartsmart 5. This is the third of our Heartsmart 5. And this one, third of our Heartsmart 5 is don't rub it in, rub it out. Don't rub it in, rub it out. So have a look at Boris, the robot. Does he look like he's a happy chap? Not really. Tell me what emotion Boris might be feeling, or tell the adult that you're with what emotion Boris might be feeling. Right, he looks quite cross, he looks quite angry, doesn't he? Okay, so when you think about loving ourselves, loving other people, okay, it's important to know how to make things better when they've gone wrong, because things can go wrong. And today what we're going to do is we're going to look at what to do when someone's upset us or when we've made a mistake. It's all part of being Heartsmart. Okay, so who's ever felt angry? Don't shout it out this time, and don't tell people around you, but just think about it. Use your head about a situation that's made you angry. Okay. Now that anger is when we feel that something isn't fair. We might not understand the reasons behind why we feel that way. If a teacher tells you you've got to do this now, you might not understand why, because you want to be outside playing football with your mates or whatever. But the teacher's got a good reason, and we don't always understand what that is. And sometimes that makes us feel angry because it's not fair. And there's nothing wrong with that feeling. There's nothing wrong with being angry. But what is important is that it can be easy to hurt other people when we feel angry. And actually, we can do something to stop ourselves feeling angry. If somebody says to you, stop being cross, it really doesn't work, does it? It's actually really annoying because you can't calm down really quickly. But there are things that we can do to help ourselves. So when we feel that way, kind of feels a little bit like that in your head. You're trying to be Heartsmart. You're trying to show that love, but actually you've got all those squiggly feelings. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a think about a bit of a story. Okay, and I'm going to write down on the screen some things that I felt when this happened to me. Now, this is a bit of a made-up story, so you don't need to worry. But what actually happened was that I was in Asda yesterday, and I was a bit fed up because I got to go do all the shopping, and I don't like going shopping, you know how it is. And I got into the car park, and somebody drove right in front of me and got the last parking space. And I was so annoyed with them. I really was. Because I had to drive all the way around again and wait for somebody else to go out. I became quite impatient. And then I got down into the shop. So I went down the escalators and got my trolley. And I went down into the shop and I saw the same person. They got out of the car and they'd gone shopping as well. Okay. And they weren't really bothered. They hadn't seen that it was me. So they weren't doing anything deliberately. They just thought they were getting a parking space. But then they bumped into my trolley. They got their big trolley full of all sorts of stuff. They got crisps, they got Coke, they got cheese, they got bananas. Bumped into my trolley. It was so difficult. I was so angry. Because first of all, that person had taken my parking space. Then they bumped into my trolley. And do you know what they did then? They went off, didn't say sorry. That trolley bumped into me and it hurt. I was very, very cross. I was very, very cross. And I thought, I can't say anything. I can't get grumpy because I was properly grumpy. So I just kind of took a deep breath. And I didn't do my finger breathing like we have done before in Asda, but I kind of took those few seconds to take my deep breaths, try and calm down, and then went and did the rest of my shopping. And then I got to the checkout. And I got to the checkout, and I actually got to the checkout before this person. And when I got to the checkout, I was unloading my stuff. I put the apples on the conveyor belt, I put the bananas on the conveyor belt, I put the bread on the conveyor belt. And the person behind me looked at me and said, "Would you hurry up?" Well, that was it. That was so rude. I'm not about to get into an argument in the middle of Asda, but I was furious at their rudeness. I thought, I'm not saying it. So I just kind of got on with it and didn't kind of think anything about it, or tried my best not to think anything about it. But then we both ended up at the top of the escalator together, and I thought there was just me and that person. I thought, do I say something? Do I say something? What would I do? So what if you with me at the top of that escalator, and there was just you and that other person? What would you do? Because that's rubbing it in. That's going to that person and saying, "I'm really cross with you. You made me really annoyed and upset and angry and cross and grumpy and furious and impact." And that's not actually going to make that situation better. And we can go over and over and over that situation in our heads. Sometimes it's really difficult to let it go. It's really difficult to forget about it. And we keep wanting to come back to it again and again. And we can think, well, that person really annoyed me. Well, when did they annoy you? Weeks and weeks and weeks ago. So you can go to that person who annoyed you and say, "You've really annoyed me." That is rubbing it in. Now have a look at my board. Have a look at my Jamboard where I've got all of my words. Does it look really nice? Are these happy words? So this is what rubbing it in is like, and I'm going to come back to it later. So we'll come back to this. Okay. And when it comes to being hurt or upset, we're going to look at the bravest, happiest, and strongest thing that we can do. What do you think it is? That's right. It's forgive. So tell the adult that you're watching this with what you think forgiveness is. What is forgiveness? So if you've done that, that's great. You might give an example of when you've forgiven somebody in your own life. You might be able to explain it more generally. And it's choosing not to get even. It's not a feeling, despite what some dictionaries say. It's actually a decision not to hold on to that hurt, not to hold on to that crossness, not to hold on to that unhappiness. But why is it a brave thing to do? Why is it brave? And it takes courage. It takes bravery because your heart is saying, "I'm really cross, I need to lash out and go, rah!" And it's easy to do that. It's actually really hard to forgive and to take those steps to calm down. So we need to be brave. We also need to think about being happy, because forgiving someone is the happiest thing that you can do. If you get even with somebody, if somebody upsets you and then you shout at them, it makes you cross. It makes you even crosser. If I had shouted at that person who had cut me up in the car park and bumped into my trolley and had a go at me at the checkout, it would have made me feel really, really cross. But choosing to let go isn't just the best thing for the person who hurt you, it's the best thing for you as well. And Nelson Mandela said resentment is like drinking poison and then hoping it will kill your enemies. It's like taking something really bad inside you and hoping it's going to hurt somebody else. It's not good for us. Okay, next thing. Strong. Why do you think forgiving someone is the strongest thing that you can do? Okay, tell the grown-up that you're watching it with. Now, you might have heard somebody say, if somebody hits you, you should hit them back and hit them back harder, or you show them who's boss. But hitting back isn't necessarily a sign of strength. Okay, it can be a sign of weakness because it might make you feel physically stronger and bigger, but it can show that your heart isn't as big as it could be because you haven't forgiven someone. So forgiveness shows a strong heart, a big heart. It's a Heartsmart thing to do. That's really important. And if you're not sure how to forgive, then you can say to the adult that you're with, you can say to the teacher or to the midday assistant who's with you, or whoever it is, I'm really finding this difficult. I'm really cross. Can you help me, please? Can you help me to forgive them? And we can talk to you and to the other person. We can help you to forgive because it's difficult to do. So let's go back to my story. I was annoyed, I was impatient, I was angry, I was cross, I was grumpy, I was furious, all of these things. And I got to the top of those stairs. Do I rub it in? What do I do? So what would the bravest, happiest and strongest thing to be to do? Tell the grown-up what you think I should do. Tell the grown-up that you're with. I hope that you have all said, here we go. Rub it out. Rub it all out. See if I can get rid of those feelings. And I might still feel those things. I might still be annoyed, but actually I can rub it out and not do anything about it. If I don't get cross with somebody else, I will feel better. This is what it's like in our heart when we forgive. So let's go back to our picture. We can rub out all of those bad things, and our heart is cleaner when we forgive. It's clearer. And I could say that this isn't just a one-off decision. Okay, this is really important. It might be that I forgive that person at the top of the stairs, but then I'm also choosing to forgive the next person where I get cross, or somebody else where I get cross, so that in my head I can be happier. That's what's important. And forgiveness is the best thing that we can give ourselves, and we know it's the right thing to do. So there was a French footballer called Zinedine Zidane, and he was named the greatest European footballer of the last 50 years. He was awarded the FIFA World Player of the Year, not just once or twice, but 3 times. And the last match he played in was the 2006 World Cup final against Italy. However, in that match, Materazzi, a player from the Italian team, kept saying horrible things about him. Now, what do you think Zinedine Zidane did? Do you think he rubbed it in and got cross and grumpy? Or do you think he rubbed it out and walked away and said, you know what, I forgive you? What do you think? Well, actually, he got so angry, he headbutted the other player in the chest. And as a result, he was given a red card and sent off. Not only that, but the game ended up going to penalties and Italy won. And many people said that if Zidane was still on the pitch, France would have won. So if Zidane had actually rubbed it out instead of rubbing it in, if he'd walked away and said, yeah, you can say what you like, but I'm going to forgive you and I'm not going to do anything, I'm not going to get cross with you, would it have been better for him? And would it have been better for his team, for France? And probably would, wouldn't it? But because he held on to that anger and he did something about that anger, he got really cross, his team lost and they lost the World Cup. So that's the end of our assembly. So have a think. What's the thing that we've heard today that we're going to remember about rubbing it out? My story that I told you wasn't real. I made it all up. So I didn't get angry with that person at all. But the thing that I'm going to take away from this is that when somebody annoys me, and I've been annoyed by things today, I'm just going to go, yeah, whatever, that's fine. Not fussed. Can we decide today to rub out anything that makes us feel angry or sad? Imagine yourself, if you're in that position, you're cross, and you rub out those feelings on the whiteboard. How would it feel? And is there anything that you need, anyone that you need to forgive now? Anybody that you're cross with? Can you forgive them and say, yeah, do you know what? We've all made mistakes. I'm going to forgive you and move on. Okay. See if you can do those things as you're around and about today. Now, for some reason, I've appeared upside down on the screen. I don't know why that is. Maybe I've done the whole assembly upside down. Who knows? Have a lovely rest of the day.